Hello students, welcome back to the class. This is Zuberia, and in today's class I will be taking you through a historical journey where we will learn about how our archaeologists and historians use sources to reconstruct our history. Okay, so to reconstruct our history, how our historians and archaeologists make use of these sources, that we'll learn today. Okay, so in our previous lectures I have always emphasized the importance of sources in history. Okay, so that is the reason why, based on the availability of these sources only, we divided history, or we classified history into prehistory, proto history and history. So that was about the sources. So in today's class we'll continue with the role of sources in reconstructing our history, especially our ancient Indian history. So firstly, we will divide sources into two different types: literary sources and archaeological sources. So historical sources, based on the nature of the source and based on its characteristics, can be divided into two different types. So what are there? Literary sources and archaeological sources. So what are these literary sources? Literary sources means written records. Written records are known as literary sources, and these written records, they are usually books or manuscripts. So what are manuscripts? Manuscripts are scripts which are written by hand, and these scripts, they are usually written on palm leaves. Okay, they are usually written on palm leaves. So that was about the literary sources. Then these literary sources, they are again divided into indigenous sources and foreign sources. Based on the origin of the source, we will divide the literary source. Okay, based on the origin of the source, we will divide the literary source into indigenous sources and foreign sources. Then we have archaeological sources. These archaeological sources, they are of four different types. Okay, what are there? Inscriptions, coins, monuments and paintings. So this was the basic classification of sources. Then we will discuss about each and every classification elaborately. So we have seen that the historical sources, they were divided into literary sources and archaeological sources. These literary sources, they were again divided into indigenous sources and foreign sources. So in this slide we'll first learn about the indigenous sources. So what are indigenous sources? Indigenous sources means sources which are native to India. Sources which are native to India, or books or manuscripts written by Indians. Such sources are known as indigenous sources. And based on the nature of that source, we will divide the indigenous source into religious source and secular source. Okay, so indigenous source, based on the nature of the source, is divided into religious sources and secular sources. Then we'll learn about what are religious sources. So what are these religious sources? Religious sources means books or manuscripts which belong to one particular religion. They talk about one particular religion. Okay, they talk about the culture, traditions, rituals and rituals of one particular religion. Such books are known as religious sources, and the best example of some of the religious sources are Vedas. Okay, these Vedas, they are important for us. Okay, the Vedas, they help us to know about the Vedic society. We will learn about Vedic society once we'll complete Indus Valley Civilization. So after completing Indus Valley Civilization, we will learn about Vedic society, and to learn about Vedic society, we have to rely on the Vedas. These Vedas are also four different types of Vedas are there. We have Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Samaveda and Atharvana Veda. Rig Veda. Okay, Rig Veda is an important source. Okay, Rig Veda is a very important source to know about the early Vedic age. Okay, to know about the early Vedic age, Rig Veda is a very important source. The other three Vedas, Yajur Veda, Samaveda, Atharvana Veda, then we have Brahmanas, okay, then we have Puranas, Upanishads, Aranyakas, okay, I'll write here, Aranyakas, Vedantas, Upavedas, Vedangas. So these books, they help us to reconstruct our later Vedic history, okay. To know about the early Vedic history, we use Rig Veda. We rely on Rig Veda to know about the early Vedic history, and to know about the later Vedic history, we rely on Brahmanas, Puranas, Upanishads, Aranyakas, Vedantas, Upavedas and Vedangas. Then we have Mahavamsham and Tripitakas. See, Mahavamsham, it is a religious book of Buddhism, okay. It is a religious book of Buddhism, and Tripitakas are the holy books of Buddhist religion. These Tripitakas are basically 3 Pitakas, okay, 3 Pitakas. What are those 3 Pitakas? We have Sutta Pitaka, Vinaya Pitaka and Abhidhamma Pitaka. We have Sutta Pitaka, Vinaya Pitaka and Abhidhamma Pitaka. Sutta Pitaka, it talks about the teachings of Buddha, okay. Sutta Pitaka, it talks about the teachings of Buddha, whereas the Vinaya Pitaka, it talks about the moral code of conduct, okay. It talks about the moral code of conduct, how a monk should conduct himself when he is staying in a monastery, or we can even say the monastic order is being displayed, like is being discussed in Vinaya Pitaka. Then we have the Abhidhamma Pitaka. Abhidhamma Pitaka, it talks about the philosophy of Buddhism, okay. Abhidhamma Pitaka, it talks about the philosophy of Buddhism. So that was about the 3 Pitakas. Then we have this book Mahaparishishta Parvan. This book called Mahaparishishta Parvan, it is a religious book of Jain, okay. It is a religious book of Jainism. Mahaparishishta Parvan is a religious book of Jainism. See, all the books which we discussed over here, they are religious sources. Then you may have a doubt that how these religious sources can be used to know about history. We can't rely on religious sources to know history, right? We can't solely rely on religious sources. So, religious sources, we don't actually rely only on these religious sources to know about our history. We use these religious sources because they help us to know about the society, economy, culture, traditions, dressing styles of the people and different rituals practiced by the people, okay. So these information can be derived from religious sources. That is the reason why religious sources, they play an important role, so that we can know about the society, economy, polity, culture, religion, rituals, dressing styles and different kinds of traditions practiced by the people during a specific time period, okay. So that is why religious sources are used. Then we have secular sources. Sources which do not exclusively talk about religion, such sources are known as secular sources. So what are the secular sources? They do not exclusively talk about religion. Such sources are known as secular sources. And the best example for secular source is Arthashastra, okay. Arthashastra is the best example of secular sources. This book Arthashastra, it was written by Kautilya. The other name of Kautilya is Chanakya and Vishnugupta. So these are the names of the same person, Kautilya, Chanakya and Vishnugupta. All these 3 names are of the same person, and he was a person who wrote this book Arthashastra. He was a chief minister and finance minister of Chandragupta Maurya, who was the founder of Mauryan Empire. Okay, this Kautilya, he was a chief minister and finance minister of Chandragupta Maurya, who was a founder of Mauryan Empire. So Kautilya, he wrote this book Arthashastra. So what does this book Arthashastra talk about? Okay, this book Arthashastra, it deals with administration, polity and economy of the Magad region. especially the Mauryan Empire. Okay, this Magad region was part of southern Bihar. Okay, the Magad region was part of southern Bihar, and it was ruled by Mauryan Empire. It was ruled by many dynasties, but Mauryan Empire was one of the greatest dynasties. Then we have Mudra Rakshasa. This book Mudra Rakshasa, it is a drama. Okay, it is a drama which narrates the story of how Chandragupta Maurya was helped by Chanakya in founding or in finding this Mauryan Empire, in establishing this Mauryan Empire, how Chandragupta Maurya was helped by Chanakya. This drama is narrated in Mudra Rakshasa. This book Mudra Rakshasa, it was written by Vishaka Datta. Okay, Mudra Rakshasa was written by Vishaka Datta. Then we have Silapadikaram, which was written by Ilango Adigal. Okay, Silapadikaram, I'll write here. It was written by Ilango Adigal. Then we have Manimekalai, which was written by Sattanar. Silapadikaram was written by Ilango Adigal. Manimekalai was written by Sattanar. These two books are very important because to know about the Sangam society, Sangam society, economy, polity, and the culture and the traditions, we can rely on these two books. What are they? Silapadikaram and Manimekalai. Okay. Then we have Gatha Saptasati. This book Gatha Saptasati, it was written by a ruler called Hala. I'll write over here. Hala. He wrote the book Gatha Saptasati. Gatha Saptasati, it's a combination of 700 stories. Okay, Gatha Saptasati is a combination of 700 stories which was written by Hala. Hala was the 17th ruler of Shatavahana dynasty. So Hala, he belonged to Satavahana dynasty and he was the 17th ruler of Shatavahana dynasty. Then we have to discuss about the Harsha Charitra. So Harsha Charitra is a autobiography. Okay, it is a not autobiography, it is a biography. Harsha Charitra, it's a biography of Harshavardhana. Harshavardhana, he belonged to Pushyabhuti dynasty. Okay, Harshavardhana, he belonged to Pushyabhuti dynasty which ruled the northern part of India during the 7th century AD. During 7th century AD, Harshavardhana was a ruler of the northern India and he belonged to Pushyabhuti dynasty, and his court poet Bana Bhatta, he wrote Harsha Charitra. Okay, it is a biography of Harshavardhana. Okay, then we have Chullavaga. Chullavaga, it is a treatise on Buddhist architecture. Okay, it is a treatise on the Buddhist architecture. Then we have Chandragupta Katha. This book Chandragupta Katha was also written by Kautilya. Okay, this book Chandragupta Katha was also written by Kautilya, and this Chandragupta Katha, it talks about the problems faced by Chandragupta Maurya in establishing the Mauryan Empire, and how, or basically we can say how Chandragupta Maurya established the Mauryan Empire. That is discussed by Vishnugupta or Chanakya or Kautilya in Chandragupta Katha. Then we have Kama Sutra, which was written by Vatsayana. Okay, Kama Sutra was written by Vatsayana. Then we have these books called Smritis. Smritis are nothing but they are law books. Smritis are law books, and the most important Smritis are Manu Smriti and Narada Smriti. We will discuss about them when we are actually discussing about the Smriti literature. Okay, this is just a brief introduction about what are the important sources. Okay, then after discussing about the indigenous sources, in indigenous sources we discussed about the religious sources and secular sources. Now we'll discuss about the foreign sources. Okay, foreign sources means sources which are not written by native Indians, okay, which are not written by native Indians are known as foreign sources. In these foreign sources also we have two different categories of foreign sources. In the first category we can see for sources, like in the first category we'll see that some foreigners, they have written about India but they have not visited India, okay. The sources which were written, see, foreign sources, there are two different kinds of foreign sources. One kind of source is written by foreigners who have not visited India, and then another kind of source, another kind of foreign source which are written by foreigners who have visited India, okay. So in the foreign sources we have two different kinds of foreign sources. One is written by foreigners who never visited India, and second is written by the foreigners who visited once in a while into India, okay. Then what are the best examples for the first category? The sources which were written by foreigners who did not visit India. The examples for it are natural history, written by, who wrote natural history? It was written by Pliny, okay. Then we have Geographia, written by Ptolemy. Then we have books of Justin and Strabo. These were the sources, or these were the foreign sources written by people who did not visit India, okay. Then we have books called Indica. Indica was written by Megasthenes. This is a very important source because Megasthenes was a Greek ambassador. Megasthenes was a Greek ambassador who visited during the time period of Chandragupta Maurya, okay. During the time period of Chandragupta Maurya, Seleucus Nicator, who was a Greek ruler, he sent Megasthenes as an ambassador to the court of Chandragupta Maurya, and Megasthenes, he almost lived in all the areas of Mauryan Empire, especially Pataliputra. Most of the time he lived in Pataliputra, and that is the reason why to know about the Mauryan Empire, its polity, economy, traditions, rituals, religion followed by the people during the time of Mauryas, to know about all these information we can rely on Indica, and especially to know about the municipal administration of Pataliputra we can rely on Indica, because Megasthenes has very elaborately explained about the municipal administration of Pataliputra. Then we have Deepavamsham and Mahavamsham. These books, Deepavamsham and Mahavamsham, they belonged to Buddhism. These are basically Buddhist religious books, okay, and they were written by Sri Lankan monks or Buddhist monks of Sri Lanka. They have written this Deepavamsham and Mahavamsham, and these books help us to know about the Mauryan Empire, especially the contribution of Ashoka in propagating Buddhism. How Ashoka propagated Buddhism, how he patronized Buddhism, that can be learned from these books. What are these books? Deepavamsham and Mahavamsham. Then we have some foreign travelers who visited India, and the first foreign traveler was Fahian, okay. Fahian, he was a Chinese traveler who visited India during the time period of Chandragupta Vikramaditya. See, Chandragupta Vikramaditya, he was a great ruler of Guptan dynasty or Guptan empire. He belonged to Guptas, and he was one of the greatest ruler of Guptas, okay, Chandragupta Vikramaditya, and it was in his time period that Fahian, he visited India. Then we have Hyun Sang. Hyun Sang, he visited India during the time period of Harshavardhana. I have already discussed with you who was Harshavardhana, okay. Harshavardhana, he belonged to Pushyabhuti dynasty, which ruled the northern part of India during the 17th century AD, okay. We will discuss about him in our further classes, but for now please remember that Hyun Sang visited India during the time period of Harshavardhana, okay. Then we even have I Sing. He was also a Chinese traveler. Then that was the end of literary sources, guys. So we'll have a brief revision. So in the historical sources, we divided historical sources into literary sources and archaeological sources. In literary sources, we discussed about the indigenous, we divided literary sources into indigenous sources and foreign sources. We again divided indigenous sources into two kinds. What are they? Religious sources and secular sources. We discussed even about the foreign sources. Now we'll discuss about the archaeological sources. So what are these archaeological sources? There are 4 different kinds of archaeological sources. They are epigraphs, coins, paintings and monuments. First we'll discuss about epigraphs. Okay. So what is an epigraph? Epigraph. So what is meant by an epigraph? Epigraph is nothing but inscription. Okay. Epigraph is nothing but inscription, and the study of these inscriptions, okay, the study of these inscriptions is known as epigraphy. Okay, see, I have given you what is the definition of, I have given you what is the meaning of epigraph. Epigraph is nothing but inscription, and now we have to discuss about what is an inscription. Inscription is defined as something which is inscribed on a slab of stone or metal. If any information is engraved on a stone slab or a metal, then it is known as inscription. Okay, and the study of these inscription is known as epigraphy. Okay, then these inscriptions, based on the nature and the usage, are divided into different types. What are there? Religious and didactic inscriptions. Then we have commemorative inscriptions. Then we have donative inscriptions, dedicative inscriptions and eulogies. Okay, we will discuss each and every inscription with an example. Okay, first we'll discuss about the religious inscriptions. These religious inscriptions and didactic inscription, both are used interchangeably. Okay, both these words are used interchangeably because religious inscription means it consists of any religious information. It belongs to a particular religion. Okay, it consists of religious information, especially information from the verses of the holy books of that particular religion. Take the example of this particular figure. Okay, this figure, it is known as Sanchi Stupa. Okay, Sanchi Stupa, it is an important holy place to Buddhist people. Okay, to Buddhist religion, this Sanchi Stupa is a very important holy place, and on this Sanchi Stupa you can see verses or paragraphs written from Sutta Pitaka. Paragraphs from Sutta Pitaka are taken and they are engraved on this Sanchi Stupa. Okay, so that is the reason why Sanchi Stupa, it becomes a religious inscription. Apart from that, these religious inscriptions, they usually talk about moral values and virtues which are to be followed in a society. Okay, which are to be followed in any society. So that is the reason why religious inscriptions are also didactic inscriptions. Then we have donative inscriptions. These inscriptions, they are installed whenever a donation is being made. Okay, whenever a king or any other person, when he carries out any kind of donation, okay, then he installed an inscription. Such inscriptions are called donative inscriptions. The best example for this donative inscription is Ruminde pillar inscription. Okay, the best example for this donative inscription is Ruminde pillar inscription. There is a short story behind this Ruminde pillar inscription. I'll just explain you. Okay, so this Ruminde pillar inscription, it is also known as Lumbini pillar inscription, and this Ruminde pillar inscription, it is present in Lumbini. Where is Lumbini? Lumbini is in Nepal. What is the significance of Lumbini in history? Lumbini was a birthplace of Buddha. Lumbini was a birthplace of Buddha. That is the reason why Lumbini is a very important religious place for Buddhist people. Okay, then in 261 BC, there was a ruler called Ashoka. Okay, Ashoka the Great, you might have heard about him. Ashoka was one of the greatest ruler and he belonged to the Mauryan Empire. So Ashoka, the greatest ruler who belonged to Mauryan Empire, he fought a war in 261 BC. Okay, that war was known as the Battle of Kalinga. So the Kalinga war was fought in 261 BC by Ashoka, And after the battle, okay, he won the battle, and after the battle he saw what kind of disasters were created in the battle, okay, what kind of disasters were created in the battle. So that's why he had a change of heart and he converted to Buddhism, okay. He converted to Buddhism because he wanted to change from his policy of war to policy of peace, that is from Bheri Gosha to, he wanted to, I'll explain you all these things later, okay. He wanted to change from Bheri Gosha to Dhamma Gosha. He wanted to change from Bheri Gosha to Dhamma Gosha. This is nothing but from the policy of war to the policy of appeasement and peace, okay. That was his thinking at that time after the battle of Kalinga. Then to pay homage to Buddha, he went to Lumbini, okay. After going to Lumbini, he gave two important concessions to the Buddhist monks of Lumbini, okay. So the Buddhist monks of Lumbini, they received two major concessions from Ashoka. So what were their? First major concession was land grants, okay. Land grants were given to the Buddhist monks of Lumbini, okay. Next, tax concessions, okay. Tax was reduced to the Buddhist monks. Tax on the Buddhist monks was reduced by Ashoka, and these two concessions given by Ashoka to the Buddhist monks is written or engraved on the Ruminde pillar inscription. That is the reason why the Ruminde pillar inscription is a best example for donative inscriptions, okay. Then we'll discuss about the eulogy or eulogistic inscription. The best example for the eulogistic inscription, okay, the best example for eulogistic inscription is the Allahabad pillar inscription. Allahabad pillar inscription is the best example. Why? I'll explain you, okay. Allahabad pillar inscription, it belongs to Samudragupta, okay. It belongs to Samudragupta. Samudragupta is also known as Indian Napoleon. Samudragupta is also known as Indian Napoleon, and Samudragupta, he belonged to the Guptan dynasty or Guptan empire. Samudragupta, he belonged to Gupta empire and he was known as Indian Napoleon. Why was he known as Indian Napoleon? Because of his conquest policy, okay. Because of his policy of conquest, he was known as Indian Napoleon. And this particular inscription, Allahabad pillar inscription, it is written by the commander-in-chief of Samudragupta. Who was he? His name was Hari Sena. Hari Sena was the commander-in-chief of Samudragupta who wrote this Allahabad pillar inscription praising the conquest policy of Samudragupta. So in praise of Samudragupta, Hari Sena, he wrote Allahabad pillar inscription. That is the reason why Allahabad pillar inscription is a eulogistic inscription. Eulogistic inscription is nothing but any inscription which is written in praise of anyone, okay. That kind of inscriptions are known as eulogies. And then we have another best example for eulogistic inscription, that is Aihole, okay. Aihole inscription, see, I am telling you that Aihole is an example for eulogistic inscription, but in this slide I have kept Aihole in commemorative inscription. I'll explain you why, okay. This Aihole inscription, Aihole is a place in Karnataka, and Aihole inscription, it is a very unique inscription, okay. It has a very unique characteristic. What is that unique characteristic? It is both commemorative inscription and eulogistic inscription. So we can say Aihole inscription is both eulogy and commemorative. It is both eulogy and commemorative. How is Aihole inscription a eulogistic inscription? Okay. First we'll discuss about who wrote Aihole inscription. This book, this inscription, Aihole inscription, it belongs to Pulakesi II. Okay. It belongs to Pulakesi. It belongs to Pulakesi II, and Pulakesi II was a great ruler of Badami dynasty. Okay, he belonged to the Badami dynasty. So Badami dynasty or the Badami Chalukyas, they were the important rulers of Karnataka. They used to rule the present day Karnataka region. Okay, so this Aihole inscription, it belongs to the Pulakesi II of Badami dynasty. This Badami ruler, that is Pulakesi II, he defeated Harshavardhana. In our previous class, I have explained you who was Harshavardhana, right? Harshavardhana, he was the ruler who ruled the northern part of India during the 7th century. During the 7th century AD, Harshavardhana used to rule the northern part of India. He had this ambition, of establishing a empire, even combining the southern part of India. After combining the southern part of India, he wanted to establish a empire in India. So with that ambition, he came to South India, but he was defeated in the hands of Pulakesi II. Pulakesi II of Badami Chalukyas, he defeated Harshavardhana. This particular event or this particular war which was fought between Pulakesi II and Harshavardhana, and how Pulakesi II defeated Harshavardhana, is discussed or mentioned in Aihole inscription. That is the reason why, as this particular inscription, Aihole inscription, it is praising the greatness, we can say praising the greatness of Pulakesi II. It is talking about the greatness of Pulakesi II. That is the reason why this Aihole inscription, it is a eulogistic inscription, and at the same time it is also commemorating the victory of Pulakesi II against the Harshavardhana. So that is the reason why it is even commemorative inscription. I'll explain you again, please listen. So Aihole inscription, it is both commemorative inscription and eulogistic inscription. How is Aihole inscription a commemorative inscription? Because it commemorates a great battle which was fought between the Pulakesi II of Badami Chalukyas and Harshavardhana of Pushyabhuti dynasty. So that is the reason why it is known as commemorative inscription. It is also known as eulogistic inscription because the author of this Aihole inscription, who was the author of this Aihole inscription? Ravi Kirti. Ravi Kirti was the author of this Aihole inscription. This Ravi Kirti was a commander-in-chief of Pulakesi II. This Ravi Kirti, he praised Pulakesi II, his owner, for defeating Harshavardhana. That is the reason why this Aihole inscription, it also becomes the eulogistic inscription. So this was all about inscriptions. So now we will discuss about coins. The study of these coins, study of these coins is known as numismatics, and the study of coins is very important for historians and archaeologists because it helps them to study about not only the material, which was used to make the coin, but also the time period of a particular ruler, then chronology, reconstructing the genealogy of the ruler, then even about the society, polity, culture, the script which was used by that particular dynasty, and at last it even helps us to know about the economy of that particular empire. So before discussing about how economic status of a particular dynasty can be analyzed with the study of coins, I should first tell you what were the materials, different kinds of materials used to make coins. So coins, in the making of coins, different kinds of metals were used. First metals were, some of the important metals were copper, then we have lead, tin, potin, then we have gold, silver. So these were some of the most important metals used by our rulers or emperors to make coins. Gold and silver coins, they were only few, but majority of the coins were copper and lead coins. So now we'll discuss about how the status of economy can be analyzed with the study of coins. First I'll give you an example. So you might have heard about Guptas. The Guptan age, okay, the Guptan age, it is known as golden age in history. Guptan age, the age of Guptan rulers, it is considered as golden age in history. And one of the important reason why Gupta's rule was known as golden age is because majority of the gold coins, okay, is because the majority of gold coins which were found in Indian history are recovered from Guptan layer, okay, they are recovered from the Guptan layer. That is the reason why the Gupta age is considered as golden age, okay. See, Gupta age is considered as golden age because majority of the gold coins were minted by Guptan rulers, okay. Gupta rulers, they minted majority of the gold coins. So what was the basis for that? From where did they get all these money to mint gold coins? We can know that from our historical researches. We have learned that Guptas, they had a very prosperous trade with Romans. And this helped them to mint as much gold coins as possible were minted by Guptas because of their trade with the Roman Empire. So in a way, by studying of the gold coins, we are analyzing the prosperity of the particular ruler, okay. Prosperity of a particular empire is being analyzed by the study of gold coins, okay. So then these gold coins, they are also of two different types, okay. One is the punched mark coins and second is minted coins. I'll show you how punched mark coins are, okay. So these are punched mark coins. Punched mark coins are nothing but a metal is taken and the symbol of the ruler is punched on that particular material on one side, okay. Such coins are known as punched mark coins, and these were the earliest coins. These coins, okay, they belonged to Mauryas. And you can see the difference between the Mauryan coins and the Guptan coins. See, these are the gold coins which were minted by Guptas. You can see the details which are minted on the gold coins. So these coins, they are known as minted coins. Minted coins are nothing but coins which are made by putting the metal in a mold, okay. These metals, gold metal, silver or any metal with which they want to make the gold, with which they want to make the coins, it is poured in a mold, okay, and these coins, they are minted, okay. These coins, they belonged to Guptas, whereas these coins, they belonged to Satavahanas, okay. So this was about the coins. Then we will discuss about paintings. See, paintings, they had played an important role right from our prehistoric age. We have seen in our discussions about the prehistoric age, when we were discussing about Paleolithic age, Mesolithic age and Neolithic age, we emphasized on the important role played by paintings. How paintings, they helped us to learn about the society, polity, family relations of the prehistoric man. In the same way, now we will learn about the different kinds of paintings and how these paintings help us to know about the lifestyle of the people who used to live in the ancient India, okay. These paintings, they are of two different kinds, okay. Paintings are of two different kinds. First is the mural paintings and next we have miniature paintings, okay. We'll confine ourselves first to the discussion about the mural paintings. So what are these mural paintings? Mural paintings are paintings which are done on walls. On the walls, when painting is done, then such paintings are known as mural paintings. Then we have, and the best example for mural painting is the Ajanta cave paintings, okay. We have Ajanta and Ellora cave paintings, right? So these are the best example for mural paintings. Then we have miniature paintings. Miniature paintings means paintings which are done on portraits, okay. Small portraits are used and paintings are done on that particular portrait. And the best example for miniature paintings are Rajasthan paintings and Mughal paintings, okay. See, in our ancient time period, there were no miniature paintings. I am discussing with you about the miniature paintings only because we have to discuss about paintings and the classification of paintings. That's it. Okay, that is the reason why when I am discussing about miniature painting, I have given you the example of Rajasthan paintings and Mughal paintings. These Rajasthan paintings and Mughal paintings, they belong to medieval India. Okay, just for the sake of classification, I have given you. Okay, in ancient times, majority of the paintings, they were mural paintings only. Okay, so this is the best example. See the image of Padmapani. This image is known as the image of Padmapani. This image is present in one of the caves of Ajanta, and this is the best example for ancient mural painting. Okay, then we have here the court paintings of Rajasthan and Mughals. Okay, the court paintings of Mughal rulers and Rajasthan emperors we have. These are the best example for miniature paintings. Then what are the observations or what can be studied from paintings? Okay, so we can learn about the social life of those people. Okay, by seeing a painting we can learn about the dressing style of the people. We can know about the eating habits. We can know about the hobbies, or what kind of work did they do in the leisure time. So that all things we can learn. We can even learn about the social stratification in the society. Stratification means social division in the society. Even diversity in the society can be learned through paintings. Then we can learn about the economic life of those people, political life, cultural life, and their rituals, different kinds of rituals practiced by people. Then traditions followed by the ancient people, that can be learned through paintings. Okay, so that is the reason why paintings are very important for us. Then we'll discuss about monuments. So in monuments we have two different kinds of monuments based on the method of construction. Based on the method of construction, we have two different kinds of monuments. They are rock cut monuments and then we have structural monuments. So what are these rock cut monuments? Rock cut monuments are the monuments which are made by carving out the blocks of mountains, carving of blocks of stones, or carving out mountains and hills. So by carving and sculpting mountains, stone blocks and hills, rock cut monuments are made. And the best example for rock cut monuments are cave architecture. We have many different kinds of caves, especially the Ajanta caves. We have Ellora caves. Then we have Sittanna Vasal caves. Ajanta caves and Ellora caves, they are present in the Western Ghats in Maharashtra. And then we have Sittanna Vasal caves which are present in Tamil Nadu. We have many other caves also, but we will confine ourselves to these examples. Okay, when we are actually discussing about the topic, we will discuss elaborately. Then we have structural monuments. In these structural monuments we have temples, stupas, chaityas, viharas. Okay, so in the temple, when we are discussing about temples or when we are discussing about architecture, I'll explain you different kinds of temple architecture. Here I'll give you the names of different kinds of temple architecture. So in the structural monuments we have seen temples are there, stupas are there, chaityas are there, and viharas are there. So temples are basically the worshipping places of Hinduism. Okay, these temples, they belong to Hinduism. Whereas stupas, chaityas and viharas, they are the worshipping places of Buddhism. They are religious places of Buddhism. So first we'll discuss about temples. The best example of ancient temple is the Dashavatara temple. Okay, here we have this is the Dashavatara temple. Okay, this is the Dashavatara temple, and we even have an example of Kandariya Mahadev temple. Dashavatara temple is present in Uttar Pradesh. It belongs to the Gupta's time period, and we have Kandariya Mahadev temple which belongs to medieval India. It belongs to medieval India and it was constructed by Chandela rulers. And this Kandariya Mahadev temple, it is present in Madhya Pradesh. Okay. It is a Shiva temple, whereas Dashavatara temple is a Vishnu temple. So when we will discuss about temples, in temples also we have different kinds of temple architecture, whereas there are three major important types of temple architecture. One is the Nagara school of temple architecture. Next we have the Vesara school of temple architecture. Then we have the Dravida school of temple architecture. Okay. So Nagara school of temple architecture, it was followed, it was practiced in the northern part of India. In the northern part of India, Nagara school of temple architecture was followed. Then we have the Vesara school of temple architecture. The Vesara school of temple architecture, it was followed in Karnataka or central India. Okay. Then we have Dravida school of temple architecture. This Dravida school of temple architecture, it was followed in South India. So these are some of the best examples for three different kinds of temple architecture. We have Nagara school of temple architecture, which was followed in the northern part of India, and the best example for Nagara school of temple architecture is the Kandariya Mahadev temple. Then we have the Dravida school of temple architecture, which was followed by South India, and the best example for Dravida school of temple architecture is Virupaksha temple. I have not kept the image of Virupaksha temple. I will show it in our future classes. Okay. So Virupaksha temple, it was built by the Vijayanagara rulers. It was built by the Vijayanagara rulers and it belongs to the Vijayanagara dynasty. It is present in Hampi. Okay. So that is the best example for the Dravida school of temple architecture. Then we have the Vesara school of temple architecture. This Vesara school of temple architecture, it was followed in Karnataka, and the best example is the temples which are present in Aihole, Badami and Pattadakal. So in Badami, Pattadakal and Aihole, we have temple architecture which follows the Vesara style. Okay, Vesara style of temple architecture is followed in Badami, Aihole and Pattadakal. Okay, so that was about the temple. Then we have to discuss about the stupas, chaityas and viharas. Wait a minute. So here I will write. Okay, so then we have to discuss about stupas. So what were stupas? I have told you that we have stupas, chaityas and viharas. So stupas are the sorry, in our image I have shown you, this is the stupa. I have given you the example of Sanchi stupa, right? So that is what a stupa is. We'll discuss about stupa comprehensively when we are studying about the Buddhist architecture. Then we have chaityas. Chaityas are the worshipping places of Buddhism. Then we have the viharas. The viharas are the monasteries. They are the monasteries where the Buddhist monks, they live. Okay. So viharas are the monasteries, chaityas are the worshipping places, and stupas are they are also kind of worshipping places, or they are a kind of auspicious places for Buddhist people. Okay. Example, best example for stupa is Sanchi stupa. Sanchi stupa is the best example for stupa. Then for chaityas we have Karle Chaitya. Karle is a chaitya in Maharashtra. Then for viharas we have Nasik Vihar. Nasik Vihar and Karle Chaitya, they are present in Maharashtra only. Okay. So that was it, guys. That was all about the monuments. Okay. We discussed about temples. We discussed about stupas, chaityas, viharas. Okay. So this is how rock cut temple looks. This is a temple of Kailashnath at Ellora. Okay. In Ellora caves we have Kailashnath temple, and these are Ajanta caves. This is cave architecture. This is a temple architecture which is done on caves. Okay, we can say this Ellora caves, it is a rock cut temple architecture. This is a rock cut temple architecture. This is a rock cut cave architecture. These are the structural temple architectures. Okay. So now we'll discuss about the individual arts. In these individual arts, we have to first discuss about seals and terracotta figurines. First, we'll discuss about these two important things. Okay. So what are these seals? Seals are nothing but these are like clay structures. Okay. So these are the examples of seals. Seals are nothing but a block of clay is used and some images are printed on it. We can't say printed, we can say punched on it. Some symbols are punched on it and these are known as seals. Seals, they are a very important source which we find and which we use to know about the Indus Valley civilization. So to know about Indus Valley civilization, the most reliable sources which we have with us, they are seals. Okay. These seals, they were used by Indus Valley people for two major reasons. Okay, there were two major reasons for which these seals were used by them. First major reason was for trade purposes. For trade purposes, these seals, they were used as a medium of exchange. Okay, as a medium of exchange, these seals were used. Then for second purpose, these seals, they were used for religious purposes. Okay, this is a seal of Pasupati. This is a seal of Pasupati who is surrounded by animals, who is surrounded by different kinds of animals. Okay, so this seal, it is a religious, it is used for religious purposes, and this seal, it is used for commercial purposes. So seals, they belonged to Indus Valley civilization. They had two major purposes during the time of Indus Valley civilization. One was used for trade purposes as a medium of exchange, and second was used for religious purposes. Okay, then we have terracotta figurines also. So these terracotta figurines also belonged to Indus Valley civilization, and these terracotta figurines also had two purposes. We had images of mother goddesses made of terracotta. Okay, made of terracotta, and these image of mother goddess, it was worshipped. Okay, the images of mother goddesses, they were worshipped, and there were other images of terracotta figurines, but those terracotta figurines, they were used as toys. Okay, we have other terracotta figurines of that of bullock cart. We have terracotta figurines of bullock cart and a plow, which may be used by the people to play or children to play. Okay, so we have terracotta figurines. These terracotta figurines were also of two types. One kind of terracotta figurines, they were used for worshipping purposes, and the second kind of terracotta figurines, they were used by children to play as toys. Then we have statues. Okay, here. So then we have statues of Buddha. See, during ancient India, or we can even say the earliest person to be worshipped in the form of a statue, it was Buddha. Okay, and based on the statue of Buddha only, the other statues are made. Statues for other gods and goddesses are made based on the statue of Buddha only. Okay, so that is the reason why we find these statues of Buddha a very important source to know about our ancient past. Then we have statues of Kanishka, Yakshas and Yakshinis. Okay, so this is a statue of Buddha. It is a bronze statue which we found in Sultanganj of Bihar region. Okay, then we have the statue of Kanishka. Kanishka was an important ruler. He belonged to Kushans. He belonged to the Kushan dynasty. We learn about him when we are discussing about the Indo-Greeks. So these are the statues of Yakshas and Yakshinis. Okay, so this was it, guys. In today's class, we learned about sources, importance of sources, and we classified sources. In classification of these sources, we learned about coins, we learned about paintings, we had a brief discussion about important literary works. Then we even discussed about temple architecture briefly. Okay, briefly we discussed about temple architectures. Then at last we discussed about importance of statues, seals, terracotta figurines. Okay, so this was it guys for today's class. In our future class we will discuss about Indus Valley civilization. Okay, so be prepared for that. If you have any doubt, please refer R.S. Sharma's India's Ancient Past. In every lecture of mine I am referring to this particular book only, because it is not necessary for you to go beyond this book of R.S. Sharma. Okay, you will find ample material in this particular book only. Okay, thank you.